On a podcast last night, ex-Habs Georges Laraque said that he wants to trade Juraj Slafkovsky for Pierre-Luc Dubois. We'll be talking about that, plus the rumors that Timo Meier, the Sharks' star, is linked to Montreal, and finally, a bit of insider info saying that Josh Anderson's probably not going to be traded, so you won't want to miss anything we have to say on this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's news edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, alongside my co-host, Jesse Poirier. And really quickly, before we get into the video, as always, quick reminder to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, whether you're new or returning, and you haven't hit that button yet, it'd be greatly appreciated. Jesse, I know you saw this, I know I saw this, but Georges Laraque wants to trade Juraj Slafkovsky, and I'll just play the clip for you guys, just so you can see exactly what he said.
Tony, you know what I would do with Slafkovsky? I would put him on a package to go get Dubois. I don't want him here anymore.
He said, I would trade him, put him in a package for Pierre-Luc Dubois. He said, I don't want him here anymore. Jesse, what was your reaction when you heard him say this? Is this maybe the most insane take we've heard from a Habs insider all season?
It's absolutely ludicrous. I don't know why Georges Laraque loves Pierre-Luc Dubois so much. You know, like he's a good player and all, but first he wants to trade Kirby Dach, you know, package him for Dubois, and now it's Slafkovsky. Like, who's going to be next here?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like he just wants all the French Canadiens, and I assume he's not going to say, let's trade Jonathan Drouin. But, I mean, the fact that it's not just the trade proposal. It's not just that, you know what, I think the Habs could use Dubois. First of all, we can wait. Like, the Habs can wait. We can sign Dubois if he decides to come here in free agency. The part that gets me, Jesse, is when he says, I don't want to see him here anymore. And then he immediately laughs afterwards in that clip. I didn't show, but he laughs and then says, no, I'm serious. Like, what do you think? Like, Slafkovsky, at least to me, has definitely not done anything that warrants anyone saying, I don't want to see him around here anymore. I mean, does he come across that way to you? Because that, to me, seems really, really almost just rude and incompetent.
Yeah, exactly. No, we're really jumping the gun. You know, we're seeing, we just talked last night about Kirby Dach, how it's, you know, it takes him a couple of years in the NHL to really get his footing. We're seeing that with a lot of players, you know. So for me, he's completely, you know, on pace with his trajectory. I think Juraj Slafkovsky is going to be a great NHL player. It takes a little bit of time to get to that level. Unless you're Sidney Crosby or Connor McDavid, it takes a year or two to really establish yourself in this league, and that's all we're seeing right now.
Exactly, that's it. Yeah, he's had surgery, and originally we thought he might be out for the season, but I looked at an injury report. It doesn't say season, it says 3 months, so maybe we'll get a couple games before the end of the year. But you're right, 18-year-old getting used to his body. Like you said, Kirby Dach. We're going to see this kind of progression with Slafkovsky as the years go on. So just an insane take from Georges Laraque. Maybe we shouldn't be, you know, talking about his takes and not giving the attention, but holy crap, I felt like we needed to mention that at the very least. Jesse, topic number 2 today, a different Habs trade proposal. This one is about Timo Meier, and if you guys weren't aware, you may have been aware, let me just bring up the picture. The Detroit Red Wings and Montreal Canadiens have been linked to Timo Meier, and in previous days, Dave Pagnotta also said that the Devils were linked to Meier. Jesse, I'm going to bring up his stats here. As we can see, he's a 26-year-old right winger. He shoots left. He's a big body, 6'1", 220, and he's almost at a point per game with 28 goals in 51 games this season for bottom-dwelling Sharks team. Do you think Timo Meier could be a good fit for Montreal, or do you think this trade, especially since his contract expires after this year, just won't make any sense?
If we could get him on a contract extension, I am open to this. And I know a lot of people are going to say, no, it's kind of too quick into our rebuild to be adding this type of player. But I really feel like we need some veterans on this team. You know, let's say if we're getting rid of Monahan at the trade deadline, I could see us wanting to bring in somebody like Timo Meier to kind of bring that veteran experience, because you want that veteran experience in your top 6 as well, right? Because you want them. And you could argue that that's where it's most important to have it, because that's where you're going to be influencing a lot of our young players. You know, we're looking at Suzuki, Caufield, Dach, Slafkovsky, Guhle. We have so many young players. But the thing is that we're going to need to keep some veterans around, and especially some good ones like him. You know, I see the cap hit going up. For me, he's not too old. So for me, this is a very intriguing perspective trade.
Yeah, and I've seen some people say, like, he could potentially come in and be the Habs' best offensive player. Now, that might be a hot take to some people. Some people will say Cole Caufield, Nick Suzuki, and I might be on board with that. But all the same, this guy's almost a point per game for the Sharks. Like I said, 6'1", 220, another big forward to add to the Habs' collection of them. You know, Josh Anderson, Kirby Dach, Juraj Slavkovsky, Timo Meier. What team would want to play that lineup in the playoffs? I mean, Meier is such a talented player, Jesse, you're right. But we would need him on an extension, like you said. The problem is he has a $10 million qualifying offer. Now, obviously, he doesn't have to take that if the Habs decide to extend him and they agree to terms, but he's playing really well, and he's going to cost a pretty penny. But I think you're right. I think if Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton can work something out for a reasonable price at a long-term extension... One thing I wanted to say, too, is that people are like, oh, like you said, maybe it's too early in the rebuild, but it's not, right? Because Timo Meier's 26. Let's picture this 5 years from now when Nick Suzuki's 28, Caufield is, 26, 27, Slavkovsky's 23, Dach is 25, 26, whatever. These guys are in their primes. Meier will still be 31. It's not like he's going to fall off a cliff. I mean, you know, do you think, because I do, I think Timo Meier, for those people saying, he won't fit the, championship window, I think they're wrong. What about you?
No, I've been really impressed with him all year long, and if we could get him at around $9 million a year, I know that's what we've been hearing that he's looking for. Mm-hmm. I think that's reasonable for what he brings to the table and everything else. So to be honest, I'm really excited because I don't think our team is really as bad as it is. I think we have a lot of young talent as it is. We're going to get a really great 2 high draft picks, combined with our younger guys. I think that you need to add around some veteran skilled players around that. And I feel like that's how you get the perfect balance is you build through the draft as we're doing, but you need to be able to add a couple of those free agent acquisitions along the way. And I think he'd be a really good one to do.
I think so too. And, as I saw someone say, there is a limit on how many contracts you can have on an NHL roster, and Montreal is rapidly approaching, especially with the amount of draft picks we have in upcoming drafts. So something has to give. And if we can land Timo Meier on a good contract extension, I'm all for it. Final topic today, really quick. Some maybe unfortunate news to some of you, some very fortunate news to others. I know, Jesse, you're a big Josh Anderson guy, and I quite like the man myself, but some news came out today. Darren Dreger on Insider Trading says that Josh Anderson is not in play unless a team makes an offer that Hughes simply cannot refuse. In the past, Treliving and the Flames have expressed interest, but the Habs prefer to keep him. He's got a good long-term contract, and that's something we've reflected here on the show quite a few times. But it's interesting that it kind of contradicts the reports the other day that, well, I guess it's not really contradicting, but the Devils were looking for him. And if Kent Hughes is saying, no, you got to blow us away with an offer, maybe that won't happen with the Devils. Jesse, do you think this is legitimate that Hughes does not want to move him? Or do you think this is maybe some smoke that Hughes is putting out there to try and get a much better offer for Anderson?
I think they don't want to trade him, but I never underestimate the negotiating skills of Kent Hughes. As a former agent, a very successful one. I think he knows the biz. He knows how to do it. But I think he's a genuine person too. I think they're not looking to trade him, and I think for good reason. One of them just being size as well. We finally have that in Montreal. You really don't want to get rid of that too quick. I think he still has some runway. He hasn't hit his full potential as an NHL player. But it'll be interesting to see where this one goes, because if we don't trade Anderson, we don't trade Monahan. Kent Hughes has said that he wants us to have a first-round pick. Mm-hmm. Do you think, Josh, that Edmundson could fetch that first-round pick that we're looking for?
Could? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, after the last year's Ben Sherratt ordeal, I think that there's definitely a team willing to pay that price for Joel Edmundson, a guy with championship caliber. He won the Cup with St. Louis, been to the finals with Montreal. He's physical. The only issue is maybe his injuries, but he's still a very solid defenseman, a kind of guy you want around. And I think the right team looking for the right kind of player, I don't think that's ridiculous. At this point, I'm going to bounce this question back to you. Is it possible we end up getting 2, maybe even 3 firsts for some players at this deadline?
Well, I don't know. I think that might be a little bit too much, but if we could get a first for Edmundson, I would definitely take that at this point. I would want to keep Monahan and Anderson, over Edmundson, even though I really value the player. I think he brings a lot. I think we still need some veterans with the decor as well, but Thankfully, we still got a couple around, but maybe it'll be something we want to explore in the future. Maybe bring around another vet if we do get rid of Edmundson. But yeah, no, I think that something's got to give. I think either one of those three players definitely is going to be traded by this deadline.
I'm so excited to get towards this deadline because the rumors are starting to circulate now. We're at all-star time of the season where there's no hockey, so all the insiders are trying to get their tweets out. There's going to be a lot of speculation. Be prepared for it. So, but we'll try and be one of the first sources on this kind of news every single day if we can. And yeah, we hope you guys are along with us for the ride. But that'll do it for this news edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate. I can't speak anymore. We're in the outro, right? Some people are still here. I get a lot of comments saying people are still here at this point. But no, thank you guys for all the support. We really appreciate it. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.